Hi, loves. I hope you're doing well. Okay. This reading is going to be a twist of fate. And it's going to come out of left field at you. And it's going to be internal. So it's going to pull at your emotional core. Okay. And I think that in the end, and I assure you that in the end, this is a positive change. I just think that it is going to be a twist of fate that you're not seeing. Right. So a person who thinks they have their life all figured out, when something changes or comes across their path, it's extremely frustrating. It's going to vary for depending upon who you are, obviously, but most people that are watching this channel can kind of go with the ebbs and flows of life, right? So that's where I really feel that this reading is about. The good news, though, is that I think that your superpower in all of this and through all of this, and maybe what got you here, is your strong instincts. And I know that that sounds kind of crazy coming from me, but instincts are things that can take on a life of their own if we start to use them as like our safety mechanism, right? Like we can use our what we call instincts as to clear up clouded judgments, which is just a perception, which is coming from a completely different place. So what I'm saying here is that while we think that we are strong and in control and have our lives, going in a direction that we want them to, or at least it's functional, right? We are challenged by things that come at us out of left field and then challenge that. And then we realize just how unstable that actually was, but that we were using it because our life is stale and we didn't realize it. Right. And these are just the things that we will deal with tomorrow. We'll deal with tomorrow. We'll deal with tomorrow. And then we look around the world and we realize that our strongest asset right now is how much we can clash with someone else. And when life starts using that to show you just how off balance you actually are, we have to stop and look. And that's why I'm grateful that this eclipse is coming through and that we've got these strong energies, because they will clear this stuff out, right? We're living in a world right now where chaos has become a very dangerous weapon, and it's intentional. People are not this unhappy organically. This is homegrown insanity is what's happening here. So what I feel that this eclipse really brings in is it flips people to actually have to look at something. We all are afraid of change, right? Well, what will I do if this happens? Or what will I do if this happens? It's human nature. I'm just saying. But what I can tell you is the action always comes with the situation itself. You will instinctively, which is your strong point, you will know what to do. And this, I think, is what breaks the madness of what we now call our instincts. Yeah, I can see this person. I know what they're about. I can see that. I know what that's about. It's like the negativity has become normal. And even though we say we're positive people, we need the negative and the positive. Otherwise, our batteries would never turn on the remote. And that would be frustrating, right? So we have to look at life in the same exact way. We can't be all, everything is Susie Sunshine all the time. Otherwise, we would never do anything. Life just doesn't work like that. And it's a very immature way to look at things, right? Like, stop saying the negative thing, or I don't want to hear this, or you just pinched my ears, or, well, this is life, right? It's just life. And choosing to not look at things like that gets us right where we're at, right? With a little help from outside sources. So where we're here right now is we come in with the energy of where you're currently standing is the energy of the King of Swords, right? This is a very, if it had to be like give you a visual to it, it would be like Mr. Big from Sex and the City, the original, or it'd be like watching the characters on like, I don't even know if they have them anymore, like the soap operas, right? Or watching a character in your movie. These are people playing roles. The persona of the King of Swords is like our rising sign. It's who we're going to be today, right? It's also how the world sees us, until you see one of these people on a talk show and you realize, wow, that's not Luke and Laura. Who are these people? Right? It's like that. It's that shocking view of yourself is where I'm going, where I think this eclipse is going. And it really just throws you it just comes out of left field and you don't see it. the ahas come, the epiphanies come. You're doing something and you hear something on the TV and you're like, oh my God. And it shakes you. It just clicks. It's the perfect click to the thing that you didn't even know was the issue or was an issue or that you had an issue. But oh my God, the emotions come out and this triggered something that had laid dormant until the perfect moment came and that commercial poked the button and here it is, all out in the open. At first, it's like, what the hell was that about? And you sit with it and you're like, oh my God. Then maybe you start crying. And then you're like, now I know what it is. Now I know what that is and how it's been showing up in all these different ways. And you're elated because it sheds light on it. And now you know what the thing is, right? When we don't know what something is, and we're not sure why something isn't working or that we even have an issue or, what triggers us here or why are these patterns here or why do I think like this or why do I still cut the ends off the meatloaf when I don't have to? These kind of things. It's like, where do these things that we have developed over time come from? But our daily lives are so hectic that we don't slow down long enough to even look at these things. Well, that's what this eclipse is going to do. It's going to say, pull out the junk drawer, turn it over, and here's all the stuff you have to look at. What is all this? You know what I mean? And it gets heavy. So what happens here is I think that life really can make you tired. We go through life sometimes on adrenaline, but what'll happen here, because we come in with the twist of fate here, is the Four of Swords. And this is a card that will force you to slow down. It'll force your pace to change. It'll change your daily routines in some way or another. You'll find that you're stuck in traffic now to the likes of which you've never seen before, right? Things like that will just slow you down. You'll see like your radio just will not work anymore, or will be staticky, or the TV. You'll just see things that are going to force silence on you. And this is the blessing, even though now it pisses you off and you're frustrated more than you can imagine. That's what happens here. I feel like it's sudden. I feel like it's sudden. It's almost like a forced standstill. That's why I referenced the traffic, right? This could be something too where it doesn't need to be like that, but like you sign up for a retreat or you are listening to something, something changes here, but I don't think that it's going to be something that starts as a pleasant change, right? But it's like getting lost and ending up somewhere where you're like, wow, I never knew this little town was here. Try to look at this like this, and it'll be easier to swallow, because for everybody it's going to be different depending upon how long you've allowed yourself to run on adrenaline while being emotionally detached is where I'm kind of going here. I think what happens to it disrupts like that fiery energy, and you realize that, wow, the car's been on empty, but it's the adrenaline you're the car that has been pushing this along. And now that I actually sit down, I'm exhausted. It's that kind of complacency. Some of you also are going to start to notice that your mind is just a little bit fuzzy, like it cannot calculate things, and it's like actually empty. And that's a very strange feeling for we're monkeys on the wheel all the time, to just really just not having a thought in our head. That's kind of alarming sometimes. And I feel like that can come in sometimes too here. But what I also feel is that how the real shakeup comes is through our vulnerabilities. And with that, we've got the Page of Cups, right? This is all about a shyness on the inside, of a vulnerability, of not quite sure how to put things out. That's a seed. Any kind of jack is a seed. And it's a seed that is just saying, I'm going to open my heart a little bit, but it's like an unsure territory. You know what I mean? So it forces you to slow down here. You're in uncharted territory here. So it's not a familiar feeling. So however your MO of your day is, it's going to be the complete opposite, I feel. And it's going to start to show up in ways that start to like snowball. You'll start to feel it like that is really what I'm thinking. Self-perception also is going to show up here. And this can show up in a way that is more frightening. It can be like, again, just the lack of it. And, it sounds vain, but it's not. Like someone whose persona their entire life has been how they looked. You know what I mean? Like it had opened doors for them, and it was just what got them through life. And then one day they realized that, you know, something's changing. Like people aren't noticing me the same. I'm having to, you know, when I have conversations, like I really don't know how to engage with people on a different level. These kind of things can be horrifying. These are probably what I would align with, like a midlife crisis, something like that. But it's your true you saying, your spirit on the inside is screaming at you to express itself in a different way. And that's who you are, right? But it throws things off. It's like the dying beauty queen that still thinks she's drop dead gorgeous, right? That's a horrifying place to be. It sounds funny, but imagine being the person. That's not a pleasant place to be, right? This can also be a disruptor where hormones get out of whack. I will point that out here. So I'll say, if you're noticing feelings like, wow, I never thought I starting to feel all these heavy things or these dark things, these things can get thrown off here too. So be aware of these things, but realize that they're in lieu of this, and it's just you wanting to look at something. It's not something that is never going to end. This is a process and it will end. It's just something you're being forced to look at. And some of these things are going to be extremely heavy for some people, and for other people, it's just going to be frustrating as hell. But then you need to ask yourself, why am I so frustrated over all this stuff? Why don't I have patience? It's going to prompt the questions through how it comes up. You know what I mean? So you're not going to be left high and dry. You're going to notice these things so much enough in yourself that it's going to slow you down to make you have to look at things. And things will start appearing to you that are also in alignment with this. So we'll be grateful for these kind of things in the end, right? The part here, the lesson in all of this is the Three of Cups. And this is, again, this is my heaven on earth or hell on earth and how you make it. And it has a lot to do with community. It has a lot to do with community. And what I'm going to bring up here is like, how engaged in your community are you? You know what I mean? What do you know your neighbors? Do you know the people around you? Do you know where, you know, what is the contribution there, and what is the feel of that? Is it camaraderie, or does nobody know each other? You know what I mean? And that's going to be different for people too. But I think here the lesson in this is it's pulling us back to this. It's pulling it back to, it takes a village to raise a child kind of thing. It's pulling life back on track, where there are communities, where there are family units, where there are, you know, gatherings and things that are, it's cohesive working together. If you've just looked at a lot of the things that are going on around the world, just as far as like the weather things that are going on, which are just weather cycles, by the way. They are just cycles of weather that have been here forever. We just happen to be stuck in a really crappy one. Does that mean that we should not be doing better? You know, no, of course not. But it's being made into something that is, again, putting fear in people. And it's nothing more than a cycle. It's a horrid cycle, but it's a cycle. That's it. There's nothing to be fearful about. Nature and you, because you are nature, have natural origins, and it flows in that manner. And when we get in sync with that, it's a lot less frustrating, right? So community is where things are really dropping anchor. Positive vibrations around people, like-minded people. It's no longer going to be the who can insult someone the most, and that's how our relationship is built. You know what I mean? It's no longer slamming this person or this person or this kind of thing. It's no longer having, you know, young people who have absolutely no respect for elders. It's off the chart. It's just, life is so out of balance right now that these things are going to be brought back into balance. How on a global scale, I don't know. I'm talking about us as people, and it's usually the minority that make the big changes. So we are that. We are the people, right? The importance also of leaning on people. We think that we are so independent that we don't need people. We are wired to connect. We are wired for communities. If you look around Europe and a lot of the older places, all of these buildings are right on top of each other for this very reason. People need people. So I think that the persona here of I've got it all figured out and you're really strong on the outside, I think what gets shaken up in this is the importance of allowing yourself to be vulnerable, and that you can't do everything on your own, and it gets exhausting, right? So when we open ourselves up to realize new things about ourselves that we've not noticed before, we start to pull in alliances that are working with us, that are willing to help us, that we can lean on, that we can ask for help, and we don't have to do it all ourselves, right? Because in here, the Four of Swords is a card that just, you're going to be forced to stop with the Four of Swords. There's no way about it. Your momentum will change. Something will hit you. For some people in severe situations, this could show up as something that you are aware of, or maybe that you're not, or you're, it can come down where it will bring some kind of short-term illness upon you. And that will prompt you to have to look at something else. That will prompt you to have to slow down your pace. And that's what this is really all about. Because the outbound here, the new you, is the Nine of Coins. And this is a card of appreciation, of gratitude, of momentum, of value, of humility. It's motivations shift, the things that motivate you shift, how charitable you are, and vice versa. It builds lasting structures with like-minded people, and everything will not be online anymore. I know I'm going against the grain of all this IT stuff and all of this, but we need real communities with real people doing real things in real places, right? That's how you commit, how you build a community. The Nine of Coins on the outbound, you will take action on this. This is not something you're going to change. And I will tell you again, with the Four of Swords, this is a wind of change card, and it's a positive change. So the positive change is coming. I would encourage you to embrace this. I'm not buying into all of the fear and the this and the that. I know what people are made of. Someone can stand in front of me looking like a complete lunatic, and I can see who they are on the inside. And they usually look like this. So prejudging each other, people now are flying such freak flags that they're not even theirs. They're just trying so hard to fit into somewhere. And again, chaos is a very, very dangerous weapon, and it's being enforced on purpose. It's just not the natural order of things. Nature is powerful, but it knows what it's doing. And spirit is alive in nature, in all of that. And what I'm talking about with that, it's the life force in you. And it knows what to do. And it's screaming on the inside of people now to be heard and to be seen, because it is horrified at what's going on here. And you are the vehicle. So I would say, take care of yourself. Be aware that these things are changing. So start to look for hiccups in your life. And instead of getting frustrated about it, say, okay, maybe this is where something is starting for me. Why am I so frustrated about this? Right? You also have to be aware that the spirit and the body take different times to level to each other. You know what I mean? Like, say someone cuts you off in traffic and you just say something, or your body, the words are done and you're driving on, but your body is still going to take a minute to decompress from that. So try to look at things like this, right? Things are going to show up now that are going to hit you out of left field. And for some people, it's going to be more severe than others, right? For some people, it will involve the relationship structures in their lives, right? Some people will honestly have conversations that things have been unsaid for a very long time, and they're able to be said now. These don't need to be detrimental things, but you want people in your surroundings to be able to lean on each other. And that's what I really feel is coming here with the Three of Cups. I think it's community, connections, celebrations, right? Being able to lean on people, being able to trust people. I think that the main takeaway from this is the importance of being able to lean on people and to need people and to get along with people and to have tolerance of people. I think once things settle down, seriously, because I think that people are very flamboyant right now, maybe because they are trying to fit into communities, but other times too, I'm not discounting mental illness. I'm not discounting that. it's in here as well. So don't think that just because I'm saying that I see people stand in front of me that are lunatics and I see this person, I also see where I'm out of my realm and want nothing to do with that, as should you. And I know you do. So I'm just saying our vulnerabilities come out in the open. And what I think it does, that it gives us an inner peace and satisfaction, right? I think it aligns us too with what our true values are as people, as communities, as, you know, things change. I think that a lot of regulations for a lot of different things on the planet are going to change, right? Like maybe you live here now and you want to live somewhere else. Maybe you realize that where you thought was a better place, maybe you want a different type of lifestyle, right? The higher quality lifestyle, but for a lesser cost so that you can enjoy different parts of your life. Maybe you don't want to live to work anymore. You don't want to feel like you're always in survival mode. Maybe you want to actually just live life for a little bit. And you realize that different places provide this. And maybe within your own place, just shifting the things that you do and the things that are important also give you, smoother connections with your kids or with your grandparents or with your family, with different parts of your community, whatever that is, right? That's what I think happens. It's challenge and change at an emotional core. And these vulnerabilities, depending upon what people have been through, are going to be different. And they're going to be easier for some and they're going to be horrifyingly hard for other people. But this is a process and it will pass. So I think with this eclipse, what it does is it makes things a lot easier to deal with. I think it makes things a lot easier to come out into the open, a lot easier and a lot more forethought that you have that you didn't realize. Give yourself a little bit of credit here to realize that what you're doing is you're cleaning stuff out. Remember, we're going to pull out that junk drawer and just flip it over and look, what is all of this? And why am I saving it? Things like that. Introspection, disruptions. I think our energy levels will shift. I know they will for sure. So if you've been really depleted and not feeling well or can't get out from under something, realize that this is probably how it's showing up for you, but that it will pass. Okay. What motivates people shifts, community, what that means to you, again, is different for everyone. I think that we have to realize where we have been emotionally detached from even the relationships that are, I won't say thriving in our life, because if you're emotionally detached, it just means you're avoiding things, right? So you're in the relationship, it could appear to be fine, but are you really in it? You're showing up, but that's about it, right? And I've seen people say, oh, my relationship's fine. And I hear the wife and she'll say, well, it's fine because he's never home or he's never saying anything, or I can't get him to get into a conversation with me, or vice versa. It's not men, just men. It's men and women. So it's that kind of thing. But we're bringing back energies into balance. And to do that, we've crossed the threshold of what should be legally acceptable a long time ago. So things are changing. And again, this is a cycle of life and we should welcome it here. We should be not fearful, but just realize that in a moment that you're not prepared for, out of nowhere, something could change. But I have a feeling a lot of epiphanies are going to come and you could not have ever put the connection together without this energy. Okay, so that's what I've got here. And again, I think here that the challenge, what kind of shakes things up, is this. And it's just kind of like bearing your all. You know what I mean? Like you're just bearing your all, and it's uncomfortable. But try to look at it as just with the air of innocence, the air of shyness. And I think too, people put up this persona sometimes of being like this on the outside, but they're very shy on the inside. And when you take the fire down a notch here with this can breathe. It can come out, and people can, without realizing it, it can be a very overbearing card. You know what I mean? It can be a very overbearing person where you would go to them for mentorship or you would approach them for advice on something. And they're very funny. They're charismatic. We show up like these people, like everything is fine. But we're not in touch with at all who we truly are. This is a persona. This is who you truly are. This will be what comes out of left field. This will be the lesson in it all, and this will be the new you. It doesn't look bad, but to get through that King of Wands is like the phoenix rising. You could scorch this guy or this card and it would rise to the occasion. So this is someone built like a brick house, right? But that also means that inside that, what are you protecting? What is important to you? You know what I mean? It's the person. People can be like this, but there's also parts of themselves, fragmented parts, that they don't choose to look at. That's why they bury themselves in this hard persona. But this will force you to look at it, and it'll probably go back to somewhere here. Something like this happened somewhere along the line, and it's just been unattended to for a while. But the sun comes out because you find camaraderie here, right? This is a time of celebration too. And this is what it looks like on the outside. This is a person doing really well for themselves. They just realize that it's better to share than to live life alone. All you see and all you touch is what your life will be. And I got a clear message a while ago that just said the will of the soul is to feel alive. And on earth here, you get to experience these things with people. And that's the point of your life. It's not to work yourself to death. It's to experience the joy of life with people. So I hope that I helped you in some way. I'm going to do the monthly readings and we can kind of get the bearing of where this will particularly show up for you. Okay, so I hope that I helped you in some way.